Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome back to tonight's second half. Before we jump into tonight's second half, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost a cent. Click that like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative and exciting uploads I put out twice daily, click that bell icon. And finally, last but definitely not least, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go, and guys, they definitely matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with tonight's second half, shall we?
Today, I have a special guest. He had an encounter out in Louisiana a couple years back, and I'm pretty excited that he agreed to share his experience with us. E, how are you tonight?
I'm doing good, Jeff. I'm a little tired, just got off work, but I'm ready to kind of share some light on what I saw that night.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to share with us. I'm going to turn the floor over to you. That way you can share your experience and what you saw. I think it was, 4 or 5 years ago or more?
It was 2019.
Okay.
Summer of 2019.
All right, so just 3 years ago. Well, the floor is yours, my friend, so I'm ready and willing to hear it.
All right, so, Jeff, like, in our little previous conversation, I'm a little backstory about me. I'm a railroader by trade. Grew up in the country. I was in the military, and what I saw that night, it actually gave me a primal fear. I've never experienced a fear like this. So, it's probably June, July of 2019. I was working as a locomotive engineer, running between North Louisiana and South Louisiana. I was in Rapides Parish, which is dead center of Louisiana. And I was in an open area, and the moon, it wasn't cloudy outside. It was a clear night, and it was actually like a bright moon. It wasn't I don't remember if it was a full moon or anything like that. It was just, I remember it was bright that night because there was no clouds. And I was running on a restrictive signal, which means I could not run the train at the maximum authorized speed. I believe I was going less than 30 miles an hour. I do remember that.
Okay. So
I was coming into I went across a crossing, and it's like an open area to the right. And this is actually it was like a Civil War battle there. So like they've got like those signs that's got like a monument stuff, like not like an actual monument, but they got a sign up that could like a battle of so-and-so, like a little, like a stone sign.
Like a historic thing happened here. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like a historic sign. And it's a big vehicle trail on the right hand side of me, because this is actually a siding area. It's where like we can do train meets, or we can tie trains down in the siding there, and it'll still allow other trains to pass on the main line. If you think about it, it's two different sets of tracks right there.
Okay.
So I was going, and everybody knows that train lights are bright, and with it being a clear night, I mean, I could see pretty well. And anybody that knows engineers, we're lazy. I'm just gonna put that out there. My feet were propped up, and I was actually eating gummy bears, because that's what I do to stay awake instead of drinking energy drinks. So as I was coming up on this location, I saw something walk across the tracks on all fours, and I know my territory, so I know like how far like certain places are from when I see it. And I knew, I was like, man, that's like 200 yards up there. And it looked to be something big. And we do have bears where I'm from, but you very rarely see them.
Okay.
But the way it walked across the track, it was almost like it was blurry.
Right.
Like it just, like the light would hit it from my train lights, but it would kind of like refract around it, if that even makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So, man, I sat up in my seat and I went ahead and I started setting some train brakes because I was like, man, what the hell are we looking at? And like, I had plenty of time to slow down, so I set some train brakes, which is it's called setting air, and I come off a throttle. And I was digging in my backpack. We call them grips. I may say grip later on. A backpack's called a grip on the railroad. I was digging in my backpack or my grip, and I was looking for my flashlight because I carry a bright flashlight when I inspect my locomotives prior to departure. And my conductor was like, "Man, you're tripping. I don't think you saw what you think you saw." And I was like, "Man, whatever." So he opened the window because it crossed from my right to my left.
Really quick,
What's
that? Now, when you saw this, I'm not familiar with like the setup of a locomotive in the front. Is there like a windshield so you saw it like straight on, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So a locomotive, it's got a dual windshield. It's got a windshield for the engineer, and the engineer sits on the right hand side of the cab, and then the conductor sits on the left hand side. We each have our own windshield because in the middle it's divided with just like extra bracing and stuff for like wrecks and things like that.
Okay.
But we have regular like side windows. But I saw it, from like the side of my windshield, and it walked across the track, and I was able to follow him, her, it, whatever we want to classify this creature at.
Right.
I was able to follow it across the track, and that's when, I picked the story back up, and, I started setting some train brakes and coming out of throttle and getting my flashlight out of my bag. So my conductor, he opened the window, his side window up, and I was shining my bright-ass flashlight out there. And, Jeff, when I tell you, when my light hit this creature on the tracks, you got railroad ties, right?
Yep.
And then you've got all these rocks. They're called ballast, and they're formed up high up top, and they kind of slope down on the sides, and they flatten back out. That's what gives you your ride, right? That's where that's what absorbs majority of your weight, other than your rail and your ties.
Okay.
So as I was shining out there roughly where I thought this creature would be, my flashlight caught this thing. It was probably 15 feet from the edge of the rocks, just right there at the tree line.
Wow.
It was crouched down on two legs, and it had a backwards knee, kind of like a dog.
Okay.
But it was crouched down, and it had a human-style torso. I saw pectoral muscles, I saw shoulders, I saw deltoids, I saw a regular neck. Everything was darker in color, and I saw shaggy fur, probably 3 to 4 inches in length around his shoulders and his neck area. I really didn't pay attention to the chest about any fur.
Right.
Because what got me is whenever I noticed that it had an arm stretched out. It had one arm kind of like, not like on a knee, but not directly like putting the weight straight down, like in between his legs onto the ground. It was kind of like balanced, per se, but it had an arm stretched out and it around a small tree, and you could see where his fingers were wrapped around the tree. And the facial features of this creature, it had taller ears. It had like a yellowish orange eyes, and it had a muzzle, and it had teeth. And the way it looked at us whenever we came by, because I looked it dead in the eye because I was scared to death, it looked like it was ready to pounce. But it put a fear in me like I've never had. I have been in combat. I have grown up in the woods, hunting and fishing. You know, I have walked trains in the middle of the night before as a conductor, before I became an engineer, and heard coyotes cutting up in the woods, hearing all kinds of movement behind me on the ballast, and found out that it was wild pigs. Nothing has scared me like looking that creature in the eyes. Right now, I have got chill bumps all over my arms and neck just describing this creature again.
Right. I appreciate you taking time, like I said. Now, the eyes, was there like a shine from your light on the eyes, or did it look like their eyes kind of like glowed on its own?
It was more of a reflection from my light, but I've never seen something have a refraction, but like with a yellowish orange.
Right.
You know, it was kind of like when the sun's going down and it's getting almost where it's about to, where you're not going to see the sun anymore. That real like bright, burnt, yellowish orange.
Yep. That
is the color reflection that I had with my light, and I was running just a regular. I think it's like a Bushnell, like 2000 orange.
Yep.
That is the color reflection that I had with my light, and I was running just a regular. I think it's like a Bushnell, like 2000 lumen little handheld flashlight.
Wow.
Yeah, nothing special. I mean, it wasn't like a special light or anything like that. It was just a regular LED bright lumen flashlight that put out a white light.
Right. So if it when it's leaning down and holding this tree, how tall? Obviously, it's crouched. How tall would you say it would be at that time?
Jeff, it was honestly it'd be hard for me to make that estimate because the height difference where I was at from being in an elevated position in a locomotive and seeing it. But based on the height of that tree, because I've been in that area several times and I've seen it like during the daytime, and before I made the swap into my new position, my new role where I don't drive trains anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I've come past that spot probably hundreds of times since this incident, and I would my new position, my new role where I don't drive trains anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I've come past that spot probably hundreds of times since this incident, and I would probably say it was probably grabbed like the height of where the hand was wrapped around the tree, or what appeared to be a hand, was probably 3.5 or 4 foot off the ground.
Okay. So that's a pretty good size. And like you said, the tree, prior to the interview now, we had talked a little bit. The tree was about a good 2 to 3 inches around, and it looked like it was just palming it with no issue.
Yeah, it was probably 2 or 3 inches, for the diameter, not the circumference, just the diameter.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Now, when your conductor saw it, what was his response?
He didn't want to believe it, man. You know, and like even to this day, you know, we'll talk about it, and he was like, "Man, I still don't know what we saw."
Yeah, that's pretty insane. I mean, just there you are, you know, and that's how most of these encounters happen. Nobody expects to see something that resembles a friggin' monster from our childhood, you know, and then you see it. And
and that's where the interview ended, right there. I had to piece this together with what I had. Well, it is the full first part of the interview, but I had to piece it together quickly because I was initially going to just do a full-on new interview with him. But like he was driving to work, so we really didn't have the time to do a full-on new interview. So he wanted to just finish the one we started. So now we'll jump into the last part of the interview. All right, guys, today I have E back with us. For those of you who remember listening to the interview, he is out in Louisiana. He is a train conductor, and we were able to finish the interview. So, E, how are you today?
I'm good, Jeff. Thanks for having me back.
I appreciate... I'm sorry.
One little correction.
Yeah.
I was an engineer.
Engineer. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's all fine, man. There's a difference. So the people that know railroaders, they'll tell you there's a difference.
All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh, no worries at all, buddy.
I appreciate you finding some time out of your day to finish this up. I know that you saw the video, so we'll start with that, and the floor is yours for right now.
All right. So everybody that's watched and listened to the first video, thank you. I was truly amazed. I've been really immersed in work lately, and I actually watched the video this morning, and I saw all the comments, all the views. Unfortunately, I'm not able to discuss the railroad that I work for, just due to my current position, and I'm sorry for the guys that were wondering who I work for, and for the lady that lives in, I believe it's a lady, please forgive me if I read the name wrong, that lives in Rapides Parish. I wish I could tell you the exact location, but I'm only able to tell you that it was between Natchitoches and Alexandria. So that will kind of, that's very close to the Red River, so that should narrow it down pretty well. The main thing that I want to say is just thanks, Jeff, for giving me an opportunity to come out and talk about my experience. I know I'm saying a lot, and I apologize for that.
That's fine.
I'm really lost for words. I never thought that I would get any type of interview just from seeing a creature while I was at work.
Right.
So I've told several people about this, and the people that grew up hunting and things like that, a lot of people where I'm actually from in Central Louisiana has also heard and seen things in the woods that they couldn't explain. And I wish that I had the skills that Jeff has, so I could actually sit down and record with him. I'm too busy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You are a busy guy. When we were doing the interview, we had to abruptly stop, and at the point where we stopped, you and your conductor were looking out the side window, and I believe you were kind of in the explanation of how this creature was kind of propped like a Spider-Man position with its hand on a tree, kind of looking at you guys. What happened after that? Did you guys just roll by it? Did it, and that was the end of the sighting?
Yes, that was after we went past it.
Yeah.
That was after, I was able to look it in the eyes. It was terrifying, honestly. We were able to just go past it. We were running on. We still had good signals. We could not run at our authorized train speed. So I got back in the seat, and I kicked the air off, and I just started pulling on it because I was approaching a small hill. We talked about it for a few minutes. We kind of had a disagreement about it, like what we saw, and then that was it. But I do remember, on my trip back through there, the very next trip, I actually had to stop there. It was daylight, and I had to stop in that area, not exactly where I saw this this creature at. And the only thing I could think about was like, it was daytime outside, was like, if I see it right now, like I hope it goes in front of the loco. That way I can have a supervisor, a manager, pull the outward facing camera so I can have proof that I saw something.
Right.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, locomotives have cameras on the outside that pick up, that see everything. So like crossing accidents and things like that, or like rules violations, they can actually pull the camera and see what the crew was looking at, as well as a camera on the inside that can actually watch the crew. So
that being said, what do you think there is recording of that creature crossing the tracks that night?
That would be, I don't know how long. And with my new position, I should know. I don't know how long that the TIR footage is actually saved.
Okay.
I don't remember the locomotive number that I was on that night, and I remember the train symbol, but I don't remember the day. So that would be extremely hard for me,
right,
to figure out.
All right. Now, when you said you kind of got into a disagreement, like what were your thinking, and what was the conductor's thinking that you guys saw?
So, his name is TG, right? That's what we're gonna call him.
Okay.
TG was like, man, that's somebody in a suit just trying to mess with people. I'm like, dude, there is nobody like around here. Why would somebody be out here messing with a train crew at 3:00 in the morning? So I told him, I was like, dude, that was a werewolf. Plain and simple. I've watched Silver Bullet. I watched Silver Bullet as a kid. That was a werewolf.
Right.
That's what I'm going with. And he was like, man, that was somebody in a suit. You can buy those suits anywhere. That's somebody in a suit. I was like, he walked across the track on all fours, and it did not look like a human doing like a football exercise called the bear crawl. Right. It did not look like that. It looked like something it looked natural on four legs. It also looked very natural sitting in, as you called it, which was a absolutely great reference to the Spider-Man pose.
Yeah. I mean, and plus, like you said, it's 3:00 in the morning. You're in the middle of nowhere. Like, why would they? I mean, it'd be more apt to, mess with people on a main road with cars. Why mess with a train crew?
Exactly. Like, how would they even know without, obviously, like hearing the horn or seeing the headlights coming down the rail? How would they even know that we were coming out there? How they know that we were coming through there at that time? Yeah.
And like, how would they know you'd even be able to see? You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's a good kind of way to brush it off, but it's kind of I don't know, not really thinking about the other side, like you're not going to be able to see that thing unless you really saw it. So definitely a strange way of thinking. Now, being that you're from Louisiana, did you ever hear of like the Rougarou and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, I've heard of the Rougarou, but it was after.
Okay.
It was after this. After I saw this, when I really kind of like immersed myself into like listening to like Dogman sightings, werewolf sightings, strange sightings. That's when I started listening to creepypastas, things like that, and I really that's what I would do. Like on my drive to work, I would, instead of listening to music, I would just go to YouTube and I would just find like werewolf sightings, told by different storytellers, and that's when I was like, that's pretty serious. I've heard of, grew up knowing of Bigfoot and things like that, but the Rougarou is the Louisiana version of the quote unquote werewolf.
Yeah.
So
and then like where this location was at, like it was a Civil War battle, I believe is what it was. Next time I go through there, I'll actually like slow down and I'll read the actual sign. That way I can send you a text and let you know.
Yeah, or if you could maybe take a quick pic or whatever. I don't know if it'd be going too fast to take that, but I don't know. That'd be cool.
Well, I don't run trains anymore, so I mean I would have to drive out there. But yeah, that's fine. I could do that.
Okay, all right, that's cool.
Yeah, but where I was at, there was we don't really have swamps where I'm at. We just have like little like sloughs is what we call them. It's like an offshoot off of a river.
Okay.
Like a low area that's just got stagnant water. So, and we have a river, going south, so to the east of me.
Okay.
So I mean that was something that I had in mind. Like they've got a water supply right there.
Yeah.
They got plenty of woods area for having any type of food.
Right. That was my next question.
There was farmland. Yeah, there was farmland through there. So like they had like grains, or they had like cows and things like that.
Okay. Wildlife and stuff like that. My question was going to be like, how deep would the woods be in the area? So obviously there is a lot of wooded area for it to hide and, just, hunt for food. You've got water. You're easily accessible to, because it seems like they use waterways or, a lot of times, train tracks or railway, to commute because, so seldom do people go down, it's not going to be walking on the side of the road. It's more apt to walk on a train track, kind of on the side of a train track with woods, so.
Oh, really? Okay. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, that's what I would do if I had to travel somewhere and I didn't want to be on the road.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've heard of a couple, encounters where they've seen them on train trestles and stuff like that, walking, just, cause you're away from people, you're less likely to be seen. And just like the riverway, it's a clear path for you to walk without, even though a lot of times you don't hear, you hear stories of them just running through the woods anyway. But, if you're any kind of creature or whatever animal, what are you going to pick to walk on? Easy going, riverbed or train track, or run through the woods, so, yeah, it makes a lot of sense too. Where
absolutely.
Where you saw it. Now, when you said you saw its eyes, the terror or whatever that you felt, like, what was it? Just like, did you make eye contact with this creature?
Yes, I looked at this creature dead in the eyes.
That is scary. That's
I just got
even though
I
you're
just
in
got
a huge vehicle.
I just got chilled bumps all down my left arm discussing that.
I apologize, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's fine. Every time, I go back to this, like on our last interview last week, I told you, I was like, same thing. I was like, man, I just got chill bumps.
Yeah. And you were in a vehicle that, obviously these things, there's been stories of them tearing open cars and tearing open a car door and stuff, but you're pretty secure and you're still seeing this thing terrified. Well, it's because we're told at such a young age that these creatures don't exist, and then you see one with your own eyes and you're like, wow, they really do exist.
Yeah, like for context, a locomotive weighs roughly 400,000 pounds.
Wow.
And I have hit trees. I have hit trees that fell across the tracks. I've hit semi-trucks. And a lot of the times the locomotive is damaged, but not extremely bad.
Right.
Like I'll text you a photo of my last crossing accident, so you can kind of see how what it did to to the locomotive.
Right.
But even knowing that I had, that I was sitting in something that weighed roughly 400,000 pounds, I was still afraid. I was still scared.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a complete mind, set. We're told from the beginning of, as children, monsters don't exist. And then, at whatever age you are, almost you're an adult at the time and you see it and you're just like, wait, what? And it's a complete, it messes with your mind totally. And like you said, 400,000 pounds to a 400 pound creature is not, it'd be just slam right through it. But, it obviously had a lasting effect on you.
Yeah. Just for like a little backstory, I grew up hunting. It would be nothing for me to like shoot a deer, in the evening and would be tracking it, doing a blood trail, up into the night. And I was a teenager, I would have a flashlight and have my high-powered rifle as a teenager. I never even thought twice about it.
Right.
We used to go four-wheeler riding at night with just us, a bunch of us just going out four-wheeler riding, no firearms, not thinking about anything, knowing that we have, bears here and there and coyotes and things like that. And occasionally you'll hear a panther, but I never thought about anything like this while I was out full riding, bud riding, or, going camping.
Yeah.
Especially as a kid, camping in the backyard of the parents' house, thinking that, you're really out there roughing it and you can hear the TV playing.
Yeah, definitely. It's now, how are you? I mean, how are you with the woods today? Like, are you a little more cautious, or, I'm
definitely a lot more aware of my surroundings.
Okay.
I used to not carry my handgun with me everywhere. I used to only keep my handgun in my vehicle. Now, I bring my handgun with me absolutely everywhere.
Right.
If I go out to some of our hunting lease, some of our property, I'll bring my AR platform if I want to, just to have the weight on me, or I'll just bring my handgun because I can have my handgun with me and not really have any extra weight as far as like just toting it.
Yeah, most definitely.
I try not to go to the woods by myself now, and it sounds really like funny, considering my background, that I'm not a fan of going in the woods, and I love to hike. Me and my wife love to hike, and that's really changed.
Yeah.
As far as our hiking.
Yeah. It doesn't sound funny because, you are one of the few people that have seen these things. It may sound funny to someone that hasn't seen one, but once you see one, it's kind of hard to forget about it, and you do become very aware of your surroundings, and you have to be. Chances are you may never see one again, but why take that risk? So, I've been thinking a lot about these cases, and I've been thinking about this case that's up here. I know you watched the video that I was talking about it the other day. I think walking in the woods, people should be aware of all of their surroundings, including above them in the trees. These things are known to jump. Obviously, they can climb. If they're that agile on the ground, they're that agile to be able to climb a tree. So.
I absolutely agree. If they're built the way, like if every one of these creatures are built the same way as the creature that I saw, they're extremely athletic.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I sometimes, when I do read comment sections and people do the description and they talk about muscular tones and stuff, well, if you're living in the woods all of your entire life, you know, and you have to survive and hunt. You're not going to be, you're going to be you're going to have a different muscular structure, and you're not going to be weak, especially if you're a predator, you know. So these things are definitely strong. They have to think. They're tactical. I mean, I know you're new to the channel, but I'll text you a story from an ambulance driver, and he and his partner was driving. He was in the passenger side. We're driving in Connecticut, and they actually were ambushed, you know, tactically ambushed while in an ambulance to slow down. There was some behind and one on the side. Nothing happened, thankfully, but you know, they used almost like a military tactic to slow this ambulance down. There was one in front, two behind, and one on the passenger side coming up as the vehicle was going slow. And that's why I really, since hearing that, I've really taken a lot of kind of a view at different attacks. Like there was a doctor named Nancy Shaw who was attacked in Georgia. Her car was found on the side of the road, her driver's side door open. She's on the opposite side of the road in a ditch and tore up. No explanation, you know. But then I go back to hearing, you know, that ambulance story, and I'm like, wow, I really think these things, you know, did like an ambush thing. They're very smart.
Well, you got to think about it like this: like, in order for them to survive, right, they have to be faster than the slowest deer that day.
Yeah,
exactly. Just like a cheetah. Yeah, cheetah's got to be faster than the slowest gazelle, or you know, whatever it is that they're hunting.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I believe that these things, just based on like the stories that I've listened to, and one story that keeps popping into my head is the one about the farmhouse that was attacked by a whole group of dogmen.
Yeah.
And they found like the scratches in the doors and everything. I can't remember where it actually was, but I watched it on another channel.
In Maine? Was it the one in Maine? Yeah.
Yep. It was on that guy's channel we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that to me was like, that was straight up like they were, you know, scratching at one side of the house, but they were really working to get in at the other side. Like all of your attention was over here. You know, that was brilliant. You know, that's thinking like how a human thinks. That's thinking like somebody that's got, you know, intelligence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's absolutely, and it's when you hear the ambulance story, you will literally, it's almost like a militarized ambush. You know, just how they put one out front to slow the ambulance down or to distract it. Then as it slowed down, two came out from behind it, and then one on the side. The one in the front jumped out of the way as it was slowing down, and you know, it was just, they're crazy intelligent. It's with strength, and that's very scary. Obviously, they are an apex predator on land. And there's another story of a gentleman that I just talked about. It happened during the pandemic. Guy from Pennsylvania, and he had actually shot one at a campsite in Pennsylvania. He reached out to me, shared it with me, and then probably a year later reached out to other channels because he was hoping someone was able to sneak a picture out of the campground. He looked at the teeth, and he thought these teeth resemble a shark or an alligator, almost for ripping and swallowing prey whole, or soft tissue whole. And
wow.
Yeah. I'll send you that link too.
Thank you.
It's definitely a very interesting story. But you learn a lot from these encounters. You know, just like any encounter, you can take bits and pieces of and really get a lot of information. So.
Well, main thing I've learned from these encounters is I carry a 9mm, right? I'm strongly considering going back to carrying my 1911. Just so I've got something else, something a little bit bigger than a 9.
Yeah.
I can't carry my 300 Magnum everywhere.
Or you can check out that Fort Scott's munition. I've been talking about that on the channel and how it stopped a bear. It may be able to put some distance between you and one of these creatures. So,
well, fingers crossed. I would rather, if I had a choice of seeing this again or winning the lottery, I would choose to not see the Dogman ever again.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you'd like to say? We're kind of done with the interview. Kind of wrap it up. Would you like to say anything to the audience?
I just want to, give a big thanks to you, Jeff, for reaching out to me.
I appreciate you coming on. I really do.
I was really surprised that somebody reached out to me on something that I wrote a year ago. I'm very humbled to be here. I'm excited that I'm not the only one that's seen stuff like this, but I'm also terrified at the same time because that means that there's more than one out there.
Yeah.
For those viewers on the channel and the subscribers, thank you for allowing me to give you my story and to listen to me. And if things continue to go well, hopefully we're all gonna maybe hear another story. Maybe me and Jeff can sit down and do another interview.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd appreciate that. Definitely.
All right.
Well, do me a favor. Don't hang up. I'd like to talk to you for a minute before, but we're going to end the interview. So thank you for coming on again. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much, Jeff.
All right. Have a good day.
All right. Thanks, you too.
All right, guys. I hope you all enjoyed tonight's second half as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for all of your support. It truly means the world to me. I am a blessed person. It's almost like this channel, this community in this channel, the community of the channel has become family friends. It's amazing. It is. So thank you. With that, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and God bless each and every one of you.